shall call the Waterworks and Lighting Commission meeting to order. Probably before we start, we ought to talk about our sympathies to Mike Phillips' family. Mike passed away in the last few weeks, and I know his funeral, I believe, or memorial service is going to be held on Saturday. And he did a very nice job. I know he's very proud to be with us, and he was pretty much all behind the gentleman on that worked out in the field in the utility because he was a lineman. And so again, my sympathies, and I'll be saying probably the rest of the commissioners will say the same thing. So after that, we'll call to order, and we have to have approval or additions or corrections to the minutes of the special commission meeting held on December 8th, 2017.
So move.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
And then on 2.2, regular commission meeting held on December 13, 2017.
Move to approve.
Who is that?
Rick.
Rick? Second?
Seconded.
All in agreement, please say aye.
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 Okay, action items. Whitrock Avenue Forest Management Plan.
Okay, we have property out by number 4 collector that we acquired here in the recent past. And I met with the DNR and talked to them about what we should do with that property. It's got a lot of overgrown Christmas trees, which don't amount to anything. And a lot of the trees are either dying or have issues they're gonna die. You know, it's just useless at this point. So in talking with them, they recommended contacting some people to see about what we should do. And I talked with a couple different outfits, and one is quite expensive. It's $1,200 an acre for them to come and just totally bulldoze it all under and pile it up and do it that way. And the other one, I talked to a gentleman from Integrity, and they'll come in and actually grub the trees off, grub them, and then they'll just rot, and then we can replant again a year later. It seems to be more of a less invasive type thing. They need some structure to hold the dirt in place and so forth. So, in talking with them, meeting with them, they can come in.
We have a question.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So they just grind them up?
Yeah, they come in with the grinders and they grind up. They can grind up to 6-inch tree. So the trees that are left that are too big in some places, we'll cut them down by hand, whatever. But there actually is some areas where the trees are viable, and they recommend leaving them go till later on and reevaluate again later. So it's not the whole property, but a good share of it, about 3/4 of it, is all garbage trees. So the stuff that is viable, we'll leave that go and watch it. We have to thin it out and stuff like that, but that's probably going to keep an eye on.
Do you know if the Domtar biomass facility takes anything like that?
I was thinking
And
that, but
I don't think so. Like I say, the trees, there's total
Yeah.
scrub. There's nothing to them, mostly limbs and garbage. And they're, like you say, they're dead or diseased, so usable by any means.
And then with the managed forest land, is this a part of the requirements for having it under managed forest land, is having to do something with it? Or my question is on the timing. Would we actually, do we have to do something this next year, or is that optional as we're looking at budgetary items?
You really don't have to do anything per se, but it's something that if you keep waiting, you're just going to make the problem bigger. You could actually get into the stuff that's viable at this point, but the disease spreads.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to affect the trees that are still good yet and can be harvested later on. So
Yeah, that's the, it can be kick the can down the road if you wish, but then the longer it's going to take us to be able to start logging. Well, it's a long ways off anyway, but being able to get some revenue from the property as far as logging it.
Yeah.
it looks like you've got it staged anyway, according to the plan here, right? You're not gonna do it all this year.
Right. Because once you grub it off, you like to wait at least a year to give those tree roots and stuff a chance to deteriorate, so when you plow in new trees, they're not grabbing roots and everything else, they'll break and have a decent planting.
Do we have this in the budget for 2000?
We budgeted $10,000 for that area this year. So that's another reason why we were looking at phases on this.
And you'd stay within budget.
10?
Yes, I mean, the plan when we were talking about it would be to let the integrity know, what our upper limit is on this and say, go up to this far with cutting and countryside and everything.
It's not probably relevant right now, but the other thing is planting all red pine. If there is a disease, then you're subject to the whole thing being wiped out.
According to the forester and stuff, they say a red pine is less likely to get disease and they're a fast-growing tree, so to wait for something later on is short up. So it helps.
They won't be planting anything this year.
Until 2019.
So I'll just ask a question, so for Jim,
It's huge.
Yeah.
from a budgetary consideration, we have a lot of things that, I don't view this as an urgent thing, but if we're saying we're not under, any financial pressures or anything, and it's in the budget, then I have no problem with it. But I just wanted to make sure that, because there isn't a lot of things that you have that, don't have urgency that you could forego.
Correct. This is something, we did budget it to kind of get that property back up and running that we had purchased, but it's not something we absolutely have to do. But since it's budgeted, we might as well get started, I guess.
And it would be scheduled, I assume what they were talking about while it's, ground's frozen and,
They prefer to do it, they do a lot of stuff during winter time because the ground's frozen, and get good results. It can be done during the summer, but they like to do it now and you get less problems when the ground's frozen. Obviously, it's not wet out there on the surface, but as far as...
well, it might be tomorrow, right?
But yeah. That's kind of one of the reasons behind it. So, kind of spells it out what the plan is in here, cost and so forth and so on. So, kind of looking to see what your thoughts are on it, if you want to pursue it or not.
Is this something that needs a motion?
Yes.
It does. Well, to start the discussion, then I'd move that we proceed with the forest management plan for 2018, up to $10,000 for the clearing of the acreage at Whitrock and 64th.
Okay, Rick made a motion, I have a second. Joe second. Is there any other discussion? I have one, is that total property 67 acres?
60...
Isn't it 60? It's not
64.
It's not over 100 or anything. Okay. Any other question? If not, all in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? Okay, motion carried. Next one is 3.3 or 3.2 distribution transformers.
So Todd, do you think the price difference, is that all in, do you think that's in the type of transformers or the company themselves?
Company themselves, they have a very strict specification that everyone has to meet, and they all have to meet the DOE requirements for the losses, both full load and no load losses. So it should be an apples to apples comparison. It's just that some manufacturers are charging more than others.
And the 206, I'm sorry, does the 206 include the rebate or whatever?
So no, so the 206 would be the purchase order that we would write this year.
Okay.
You don't get that 8% return allocation check for a few years after the fact. Yeah.
Haven't we purchased the Cooper?
Yeah, Resco actually both quotes Cooper and Ermco. Now, Cooper used to be manufactured in Waukesha. They moved their operations to Texas and Mexico. Since they did that, their pricing has been higher. So when Resco does their quote, both the Cooper and the Ermco meet the specification. And so what they normally do, they give me pricing for both, but then they let me pick which manufacturer I want to pick, and I always just pick the one that's the lower cost, which in this year was Ermco. Now, last year when we purchased the overhead transformers, hoping I get this right. Yeah, the overhead transformers ended up being from Cooper when we purchased them from Resco, and the underground transformers we purchased from Ermco from Resco, or were made by Ermco. This year, the Ermco overhead and underground transformers were both low compared to Cooper. And part of that could be also that Eaton purchased Cooper, so that could be another reason for their prices being higher as well.
And all four of these transformers from four different companies that make the transformers, they're all based on the bushings are the same size and
All identical. I mean, yeah, your manufacturers, maybe physically size might be a little bit different between them, but you know, everything else according to the specs. I mean, the specs that I have are, you know, this thick.
Yeah.
So they all have to meet everything that's in the specification, so.
And your experience in terms of longevity is similar for,
Yep, I haven't seen any noticeable difference in any of the transformers that would make me think, well, this one is worth more money because it'll last longer type of thing.
Todd, are these for replacement transformers when we have?
It would be for two things. It'd be all new construction that's planned for 2018, and then any failures of transformers on the system during the year. And typically, we're pretty good at estimating. We get to the point usually in November, December, where we might need one or two more based on something failing that we didn't anticipate, or some new project going in that doesn't cover something that we have in stock that we can use. But we typically do a pretty good job figuring out exactly what we need, and then we get the best pricing we can get by going out for these bids and locking them in and buying them this year, all 48 at one time.
Thanks.
how do we account for this patronage allocation refund?
When it comes back, I mean, it comes back over several different returns, and we treat it as a dividend, because that's essentially what it is through Resco. But it's not just on the transformers, it's on the purchases that we make through Resco also, that we do get those refunds.
So it's the total purchase.
There's a portion that's, I think, because Ermco is a co-op, you know, so that gets passed through to us from Resco, but then there's a purchase just from Resco that we also get that on.
Yeah, and that's typically 2% versus 8%. So anything from Ermco gives us a much higher return on that patronage check.
I move for approval as proposed.
I'll second that.
John made the motion, Rick second. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Are there any nays? Okay, thank you. 3.4, request to attend APPA National.
3.3.
Oh, I'm sorry, filter plant heating system.
The filter plant has a furnace and keep the office in obviously warm and cool in the summertime. That furnace is almost dead. They actually have a couple of space heaters in there to try and keep it warm, especially when it gets really cold out. So Jason looked into getting ideas to replace the furnace and so forth. We went to a couple of different ones. They came up with an idea where we can put the compressor and everything up into the filter plant rather than having it on the roof. And it would feed head for heating and air conditioning in the office up there, the lab, which is really sensitive to temperature change and control, and also in the restroom, of course. So I went to 3 different vendors, Badger, Guzzle, and Tri-City, and they came back with Guzzle being the lowest at $6,760. And that's something that if we don't do anything, it's going to be cold and hot in the summertime, but that furnace up there, we've been working on it for years, and it's finally given up the ghost. So we like to,
Is that heating and air conditioning in one unit? So it's inside, wall mounted?
the new system will be on the wall upstairs,
Yeah.
the inside, which makes it more efficient, less environment effect and so forth, so.
This is a unbudgeted item because it failed after we completed our budget in October. So this funds for this project would come out of Dale's contingency fund.
And how much was in the contingency? I don't remember that.
15.
15 total.
And this, the old unit didn't cool?
It did cool, but not very well anymore.
Really, cooling isn't the issue so much because we've got 2 huge things filled with water, which is pretty chilly. It's more on the heating side, but certain times during the year when it gets really hot, then they need it. But on a normal basis, it isn't doing much air conditioning.
Yeah, the lab is the only thing that's really sensitive to temperature control, because you got the incubator here for samples and keep it at the proper temperature, but, yeah.
I'd move that we approve the filter plant heating and air conditioning system replacement in the amount of $6,760 with Gelzo Heating and Air Conditioning
From the contingency budget.
from the contingency budget.
Somebody like to
I'll
second?
second it.
It's either John or Rick second, or both.
Joe,
Joe, I'm sorry.
John, you want?
Is there any other discussion? If not, all in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? Okay, thank you. Now the request to attend the APPA National Conference.
so moved.
Okay,
Second?
okay. John made the motion, Rick second. Any other discussion? If not, all in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays?
I wouldn't want to drive to New Orleans, that's all.
Are you driving?
We're actually thinking of going as a family and taking the train, which would be
Oh.
interesting. So, not sure yet. Haven't booked anything.
9 hours. Should be good and warm down there too that time of year.
We just got done driving there.
You have to visit the
I said when we get together.
World War II Museum down there. It's fantastic.
Oh, is it? Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, I'll have Roxanne email out to the commissioners, both once they fully come out, the agendas and where they're at and the dates to see if either any of you are interested in attending either the APPA or WWA National Conference.
All right, department update, safety committee. No questions or comments? If not, line superintendent report.
What are we, this mapping and beering?
Yeah, so what we ended up finding out is we've been this summer typing in all the poll cards, which is basically the every pole in the system has a description of what's on the pole. You know, a 6-foot arm, an 8-foot arm, how many arresters, combination, you know, you got it. It also tells what type of wires on the pole, and you know, the whole electric mapping that we're doing has the connectivity of the whole system, and you can do a lot of modeling with it, and that's where our outage managements that actually Matt put into effect Monday. We're starting to test that now too. Anyway, it all comes back to this. Well, what happened in 2005 is we purchased part of Consolidated Water Power Company's system in Buren, and this is prior to any of us in this room being here, but there was a decision apparently made not to make poll cards for the new system. And so, because of that, we have no information on any of the polls. We kind of came across this as we completed all the poll cards, that we've got the whole Buren system that needs to be done. And so the team came up with a plan, and we've all worked together. We came up with a spreadsheet. The lineman went out and did the inventory of each poll, and it's getting typed in as we speak, and it should be completed in a week from now.
We had GPS locations where the poles were, but we had no idea what was on them.
Okay, so this feeds into then,
OMS, outage management.
yeah,
What do we do?
and also replacement and timing and so on.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, water department operations?
Just the compliment also on the last one, reduction in call-outs, that's very good.
We should have, within the next couple of weeks, I know Todd's working on our Sadie and Katie numbers on reliability, so should have those for the next meeting.
So Dale, just one frozen service so far with the cold
We've
weather?
had some frozen services, they've been on the customer side also.
Oh, okay.
So there's one here that's in, I think it was a lead service that was frozen broke, so we changed our side of it. It's still lead going into the home, they're gonna take that hopefully this spring, if it makes it that long.
It almost seems like this was a better year for freezing service than the last time we had. We had a big long cold spell. And I think that would have drove the frost pretty deep.
Been better so far.
Yeah, it's good. Any other questions? If not, the office manager's report.
Social media analytics there is really amazing. The amount of interest and communication that's occurring with that is really impressive.
We'll let Joel know, he's on vacation this week.
And it was really nice to see that come out with Mike's obituary posted via the Waterworks and Lighting Facebook feed. Nice. Very nice.
Any other comments? If not, Director of Finance report?
Some better numbers on the investment return, that's great.
They do, yeah. Even our more liquid investments, I think you can see the trend upwards on the river cities and the LGIP funds are well over 1% now, so it's nice to be getting those returns.
you've got that balance now, so you're comfortable with where you're at?
We got a really good ladder right now as far as when things are maturing, and when we do need the cash, it's going to be available to us.
Any other comments? If not, Information Systems Administrator?
Matt, that cybersecurity assessment, is that an internal project or external project?
Third-party company will come in
Okay.
and test the system.
Okay. They're not from Russia, are they? Okay, I'm just checking.
Depends if they're a low bidder or not.
Well, in the website analytics, you usually see at least, I think I saw one, there was one hit from Russia. Yes, one hit from Russia, so.
Okay.
So
I don't think they'll be on Matt's bid list.
Okay.
Been working on that, I know.
Have you had discussion with Verizon about this AMI? Have they gotten you any ideas, I guess? It sounds like US Cellular is almost ready to throw their hands up.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that's at. Last time I talked to them was end of December, US Cellular. They haven't contacted me yet this year with any options. So that's, by the time I was writing this report, I was, ready to take a look at something else. I just haven't talked to Verizon yet. I'm going to get a hold of Brian Brown, or I think Joe in the engineering department, not Eichstedt, but Joe Terry also handles the phone system and has a contact at Verizon on the business side.
Okay,
So,
good. Any other comments, questions? If not, the Conservation Manager report.
Can you refresh me, is the Questline newsletter, that's not the commission newsletter, is it? That's something else?
That one comes out quarterly, the one we do for our customers. That goes to all residential and commercial customers in hard copy. You can explain what this is for them if you...
Yes, we send it all to the commercial, industrial customers.
Okay.
It's an energy efficiency best practice newsletter. There's usually like 4 articles in it, new technologies. And our email contact listing for that is desperate for more email addresses.
Yeah.
So our contacting these companies, which are roughly about 500 companies, is going to be useful to reach out to more people to help out our local businesses.
When we initially set it up, we only did it to our higher tier customers. Now we're just going a step down and try to get more commercial customers on the mailing list.
Is the commission, or I don't know if this is through the commission or through the city, are you Chamber of Commerce members?
We are. I don't know if the city is, I know Water and Light is.
Water and Light is? Oh, okay, because the city has a whole, directory of contacts, business contacts. I mean, you can get, that's...
So I would check with
That's
them
like
and see.
their membership, well, it's members, right? So their membership list. So you're
Yes.
going to have businesses that aren't members, but they've got like 500, I think,
Okay.
contact information on that.
We we can get that to kind of backtrack or look at the list, but I think some of the point is Sean wants to reach out to this lower group of customers and make contact, see if there are any issues and where we can help them out and those type of things, and then at the same time, get them on the mailing list, correct?
Exactly. It
Yeah.
creates that network for me
Okay.
as well. out of the businesses I contact, I'm quite surprised we're hitting about 65% that are willing to give us that email address and getting a hold of them. So the list is getting quite large. I hope to increase it, probably picking up and adding 300 emails into our system here at the utility, which will benefit us for, other reasons, for future reasons with mapping purposes, or when we do our outage management information system, we can incorporate that in when we have those email addresses.
Sean, this power factor adjustment, was this your recommendation for Mariani?
Yes, and that was probably, goes back about 2 years. I've had a few meetings with them on that. And then what kind of, I guess, pushed it even further along is their expansion. They're going to increase their load, therefore there'd be even larger power factor charge. And so they contacted me last month and said that they have those capacitor banks in place. And so we're going to monitor them, keep discussions with them, and we can use that or I can personally use it for a model with other businesses to help save money on that power factor side of things.
I've never seen a capacitor bank. What is it?
Well, if you were at the paper mill, we had those on all the 480 volt buses, and really it looks from the outside of a metal box this big, and then inside you got your 3 separate capacitors, and they're just like stacked discs is what they are that make the capacitor.
Okay.
Yeah. I got some in the warehouse if you really want to see some.
It's an outside.
Yeah.
Do those work best when there's a constant draw on the load?
You can set them up in a number of ways. So at the paper mill, what we would do is we'd tie the largest 2-3 motors in the PLC with the capacitor bank, and we'd switch on the capacitors if any of those motors were running. Out on our system, we don't have too many of these banks, but they're on all the time. And the idea is they should try to keep your voltage higher if you got something larger starting up on the system. So large motor of some type starts up and now the voltage doesn't dip. And they're more advantageous the further you are away from the substation, so from our standpoint.
I see.
Yep.
And my only contact was when we bought a plant in Kenosha, and it was not running because the capacitor bank was still hooked up. I just noticed the power was going like mad, everything was off. And I think we disconnected it then.
Yeah, there's, like your kilowatt hour meter won't obviously change, but your reactive power changes a great deal if you have no load and you have a big capacitor bank online.
Yeah.
So.
Do you still meet with the industrial and commercial customers once a year, have a water and light meeting with them?
Yes, and I believe our last one was last year. That was for a larger commercial customer.
Yeah, we've been doing the customer meeting about every third year.
Yeah, you might not need it all the time.
But Sean is regularly talking.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, you talk to them quite often.
So we're probably due either this year or next year to do another one.
Okay, Director of Engineering and Electric Operations report.
Already addressed most of his report.
I take it there's no questions or comments?
No.
You guys are happy with the report? 'Cause
You're correct.
We went all over.
You're
it.
correct in assuming the silence meant no questions.
All right. General Manager's report.
Any implications from this resignation?
Well, I think it was a mutual parting of the ways, but it was officially in a resignation. don't think, living up to the expectations of the board, so they're going to put a hold on actually replacing them, and they were able to get Zach to fill in 3 to 4 days a week from Wagner on a contract basis. And they're going to do some type of member assessment to see what the members want from the association. I mean, I think they already know, but and they just kind of want to put a hold on to determine what type of skills and abilities they want the person to have, so. Either that or they want to wait long enough that Zach jumps back on board, but I don't think that's happening.
Always.
Be a tough job to fill with you guys' past record. You know, I mean,
Boy, that's one of the reasons that, well, when you make the wrong decision on who to hire twice in a row, yeah, that's...
well, and the other thing, you guys got what, 15 bosses?
Who's
The director?
well, technically, he's probably got 81, because that's how many
There you go.
municipals there are. I mean, I think there are only 18 or 19 board members, but there are 81.
You have an executive board that,
Correct.
which everybody has a
Does
different
more day-to-day
idea.
stuff, yeah.
So are we being assessed 25 grand?
All of the membership is paying that, not just Rapids. Yeah.
Collectively?
Collectively, all 81 members are paying the 25,000.
Okay, so not much.
No. Compared to our dues, it's a pittance.
And then is Manitowoc, are we done servicing Manitowoc?
The end of this month, he asked for one more month, and we hadn't started any heavy construction projects yet, so the end of this month, we're pulling him back.
Okay.
He's very thankful, by the way, thanks to the commission as well. I was out and at a conference with him this past week, or this week.
What about his recruiting? Is it improving?
He's got one additional already on board. I think they start next week, and he's waiting to hear back from another journeyman. So he was hoping when he got back to the office, he'd know what was going on there, so. But even if they get him, they'll still be down some, so we still got to do some recruiting, so. That's better than where they
At
were.
least some part.
Yeah, at least if he has a storm go through, you'll be able to manage some of it.
All right, a review of accounts payable.
While we're talking, is everybody going to be around next week? No, not you? Okay. We still need to agenda the Reggie and the request from the city for us to participate or contribute to the water park the city's building. Also, I mean, we have a few other things. We can do these in a couple meetings, but we also have to look at the Sadie Katie numbers. We also have a project that the city laid on our plate after we had our budget done, where we have to relocate some electric lines to the tune of what, about 80 grand?
85, I thought? I got it, yeah.
So we're going to come back and talk to you about it and why they're doing it and try to get our budget increase to reflect that, because we really don't have an option in not doing it, I guess. And we still have the key performance indicators to do sometime in the next few months. So, but I would at least would want to get the Reggie and the water park request out of the way, because they've been hanging there for several weeks, if not a couple months now. So what about the following week? Is everybody around besides next week? I'm not even sure if I am, but.
Actually, from 23rd through the 7th of February, I'll be gone,
Okay.
and most of next week I'll be gone.
So you'd be here the 22nd?
Be here the 22nd.
Well, that may be the date we target. Are you on vacation next week or traveling on business?
I'm in Mexico next week, so that's not.
On the beach somewhere.
I'll raise the glass. That's about it.
We appreciate that. Well, we'll probably try to target the 22nd, but I'll have Roxanne mail out an email to check on everybody's availability.
How does that work with you, Tom, and Joe?
I think we're gonna be in town.
Can we do it in the afternoon?
That'd be better for me after 1.
We can look at that, yeah. I'm not sure I have everything on my calendar yet, too, so.
I have a colonoscopy at 7 a.m.
I don't think that's going to be a good day for you, period. Have you had one?
It'll be one day that he's not going to be full of,
I think you'll be ready to nap. At least I was. Oh, man. All right, well, let me do some thinking on that. I mean, I don't think they're going to be in any condition to meet after.
Well, the morning of the 23rd, I could do it too.
I can do that as well.
Well, that might be better. Maybe it's the day to recuperate. Okay, we'll send it out. That's all I had.
I think we're still on review of accounts payable.
Can we decide, right?
I don't have any comments.
I don't have any either. So I'd be Mike and make a motion if we're at that point.
Yeah, he's usually the one.
If you would like, we could do that.
I'd motion to adjourn.
No, we gotta,
Do you want a second, Joe?
we don't need any motion on the.
No, unless you
I'll
have
second that.
Okay.
Okay, all agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.